Oh, that's a big question. If it was a physical object, creativity, something like a dragon, something that's made up of many parts, something special, something mystical.
Creative director came in at the time, Boris Damast, and he said, "Guess what, Slater, you'll be working on Apple." I went, "Fantastic."
We were sort of breaking down the misconceptions about Apple, because it was, as I say, considered a bit of a toy computer. The job there was to try and convince people that this is going to be something revolutionary, something of the future, which of course today is the biggest brand in the world.
They taught me window dressing, and that's when I went on tour with David Bowie. I worked from Manchester to Glasgow when he was touring that part of the north of England.
I did get caught up in Miami once, so I was locked up there for about 3 or 4 hours. They thought I was some sort of terrorist. I said, "I'm not a terrorist." And I was late for a meeting as well. I was pitching for Western Union, so I said to them, "Look, I'm busy, you know."
I've worked with some huge companies, Saatchi & Saatchi, 15 years, BBDO, Ogilvy, J. Walter Thompson.
We opened a KFC in New Zealand, and Colonel did come out for the opening of those stores. I was asked to design him a badge because we took him out on a private plane. He said, "What do you think of all that?" And they took him around New Zealand. He said, "I'm full of shit up to here."
Everything we see and do and walk and feel and touch, that's creativity.
I just love getting on a plane, love going to a new place, love the pressure of having to do a great job. It's just stimulating for me.
Strong, simple and bold, that's me.
Left Blackpool when I was a couple of years old and went to live in Manchester. So I grew up there, went to school in Manchester and art college, and I worked there before I started my world travels. I think Blackpool's iconic, isn't it? You know, that's the ballroom and the tower and the piers here. I mean, it's fantastic. I mean, it's known all over the world. Well, the first job I got was with a company in London called Display Hire Studio. They taught me window dressing, and that's when I went on tour with David Bowie. And I worked from Manchester to Glasgow when he was touring that part of the north of England. And my job was to set up all the displays of Ziggy Stardust, of his album covers.
And I went home one night and my dad said, "Here you go, here's a job in the Manchester Evening News for a visualiser." That's what they used to call art directors in those days. He said, "It's in New Zealand," so I thought, I'll give it a go. So I sent my portfolio, my college stuff and a few ads I'd done in Manchester over to New Zealand, and I forgot all about it. A few months went by, busy, as life was getting busier and busier in Manchester. Then I got this letter saying, "You got the job." So it was like 12,000 miles away. I thought, right. So this was the first time I actually thought about leaving England. So it took about 9 months by the time I got the visas, but off we went.
Account service people are responsible for getting this information from the client, so it comes to the creative department, and I, as a creative director, take the brief, pull in the teams, writers, art directors, designers, sit them down and say, "Right, we've got a new job on, we're selling this wine, whatever it is, here's the brief." 9 times out of 10, the brief's pretty boring, so we need to get more information from the client.
If I'd have left Manchester, I would have gone to probably London. I was just in search of trying something different. I thought, New Zealand, why not? 12,000 miles away, South Pacific. Sounded exotic to me at the time. I didn't know obviously much about the agency. I thought, well, I'll just try this thing. It sounded exciting. But the agency was called Colenso, and they were part of BBDO, which is a worldwide network. And they really were a little boutique agency, so I was very lucky. So when I got there, they had all sorts of clients: Kentucky Fried Chicken, Sanyo, Wrangler Jeans, a local brewery, Tip Top Ice Cream, all sorts of brands that were exciting to work on. And they were just a crazy group of people, and I was employed as one of their visualizer stroke art directors.
2 lovely daughters, blessed with 2 lovely daughters. The eldest, who's almost 18, she's studying graphics at 6th form, and the youngest one seems to be into fashion a lot and hairstyling. She's only 14, so hopefully they'll... I just said to them, follow your dream. If you want to do it, you know. I don't want to force them into the arts.
The more you delve into the brief, read it over and over again, you've got to really absorb it like a sponge. Get some information, more information, go to the factory or wherever the product's made, find little stories, all sorts of little anecdotes about the product. Then that starts getting the juices going. You get a creative team in, you talk to them, you know, and you start getting them to sort of put ideas down, thumbnails, thinking.
Funny story, I met the Colonel. He came to the office, didn't know he was alive, going back a bit. We opened a KFC in New Zealand, and Colonel did come out for the opening of those stores, and I was asked to design him a badge because we took him out on a private plane, they said, what do you think of all that? And they took him around New Zealand. He said, I'm full of shit up to here. So they asked me to design a badge, an enamel badge, a brooch, with him like Biggles, the Colonel Sanders mountain with the Biggles goggles on, with FOSUTH on the badge as a memento to him. So that was my parting gift to Colonel Sanders.
I'm not a big fan of brainstorming. I prefer just teams as in 2, a writer and an art director. So I pull them in individually, brief them, get them fired up and let them go away and let them wander off. So then I'm inspired. I'm a bit hands-on myself, so I'll do some ideas. I don't want to sit in the office and there's no big important meetings on. I'll say to them, go to the beach, go wherever you want, as long as you come back with some decent ideas.
I was young, it was exciting, the sun was shining. While I was in New Zealand, I got the opportunity to go to Australia. We had some good photographers there, but there were some specialists in Sydney, especially 10:8 transparencies in those days, plate cameras. Food photographers, they were specialising. So I went over there and did a lot of wine stuff for Ormond Wines, New Zealand. So while I was in Sydney, I got to meet more art directors, photographers, and I thought, this seems good, this is bigger. Colenso was brilliant, but Sydney's big. So I decided to go to Sydney.
Early in my career, I had a passion, I just loved print. That was back in Australia, New Zealand. It was very print-driven back then. I was, if you like, trained as a print art director. Typography, layout, I mean, I had it down pat.
David Ogilvy, yeah, I met David Ogilvy, one of the greats and the legend of advertising, which we all aspire to, especially copywriters. Famous ad he did for Rolls-Royce, the loudest sound you'll hear in this car is the clock. That's David Ogilvy. Came out to Australia, to the Sydney office, and he gave us all a talk, and we met him. He was famous for his white shirts and red braces. Ogilvy was very red and white, that was their brand colours. So yeah, he was fantastic. It was just great to meet him, you know. I was still quite young in those days, but I was getting more passionate about the greats, and he was obviously one of the world's greatest. Mainly in those sort of days, it was like there was so much work on one brand, like Sitmar. It kept teams busy. I mean, we were all teams, writers and art directors. So most of your time was taken up on 3 accounts.
If I'm working at home and my mind's ticking over with an idea, I turn the telly on, turn the music on, I have everything blaring, that's me, I just have everything manic. Kids screaming, that's fine, scream a bit more if you want. And I wander around and I churn around the brief or the thought or what the client wants or what his brand's all about. And I just have all this noise for a while. And then I stop, then I go out for a walk, and I just basically, I don't have one formula, it's in my mind, and it's tension because I know I've got to deliver something. It's always scary, even after all these years. You've got to deliver something, and that's fear, you know.
Culture was fantastic. I was there at a really good time, the Brit invasion as they called it. There was a lot of expats, a lot of British, a few Americans, but there was this British sort of mafia that came out of London, out of the Collett, Dickinson and Pearce days, the 70s, where there was a really good advertising being done in the UK, influenced by Burnback, New York, but very much British. And the Aussies loved this British look. So I met quite a few great people over there. And so the advertising scene was big. They were actually getting together an award annual, pretty much like D&AD here in the UK. trying to emulate that and better it. But the work with their standard was fantastic. There was some great, great talent.
There's such a thing as an original idea. Funny one, that, because everybody says it's been done before, which is a bit off-putting, really, because you think you've come up with something original, and then someone says, oh, it's been done. But I think most things have been done, but it's how you do them, but how you change and stretch and move them. You could expand on an idea that's been done 20 years ago and turn it on its head and change it. Basically the same idea, but with a different spin on it.
7 years, did a lot of good work, won tons of awards. I was really lucky to work with great people, and that influenced me a lot. So then I thought to myself, right, I got itchy feet again. 7 years I've been here. Now, where's a good place to go? Who's doing great film work? And at the time, I thought North America. Most of the Americans went to do the movies there, but I'd heard that there's a lot of good film guys there, a lot of directors, a lot of post-production houses. So I thought, Canada, North America, I want to break it there. So I got on a plane with my book, went over there for a couple of weeks, obviously lined up all the people I wanted to meet, and I spent 2 weeks having interviews with all the agencies in Toronto.
Funniest account? Funniest, that would be, it's a thing called, it's like a Midway, which is a fairground in Toronto. It's called the EX. And I bungee jumped there. We were doing some bungee jump ads. We all jumped, of course, like you do. Scared stiff, but you got to do it. I was buzzing for days. That was the biggest high I've ever had. That was fun. The client was a nutcase, absolute nutcase. So we went out with him a lot, and we did all sorts of funny ads. He said, do whatever you want, really. There was gambling, there was a petting farm for the kids, all sorts of, like in Blackpool, all sorts of these odd things. So we just went mental with the stuff, That was funny.
As the years went on, I got, obviously, as an art director and then a creative director, you get more into film, and I went to Canada and learned a lot about film with great directors, shot with some fantastic people, sound design, I got into all that. Still had the passion for print, and then of course you've got outdoor, which is amazing. Big posters everywhere, with big images, big ideas.
Ogilvy over there were very kind. They gave me an office, knowing that I was looking for work. I gave myself 2 weeks. I saw everybody. I went socialising with them. I was getting a bit desperate about 2 days before. I was lucky in the past I'd been offered jobs in countries, so this time I was on my own trying to find a job. So in the end, 2 days before I was due to fly back to Australia, J. Walter Thompson offered me a job. Said would fly your family over. Fantastic opportunity working for JWT.
I met so many creative directors when I first started off used to say, that's a great idea there, John. Just keep it to one side, we'll use that again. And I thought, well, they never will. And I've never actually seen something being recycled. I've seen creative departments with ideas. You could run an agency on what's been thrown in the bin. Such great ideas, but because the client won't like it, it's a bit scary. Good ideas get thrown away. The thing to do is to get your edgiest stuff to the client, and if he sweats a bit, that's good, and I'd probably end up getting an award, and he'll probably end up selling more product. But they don't believe that. Everyone's always a bit nervous. But recycling, I've never seen recycled ideas, no.
So at J. Walter Thompson, we had lots of good producers. We worked on all sorts of Unilever products, which was hand and nail stuff products. We worked on Wardair, which was an airline. A good mix of brands.
There is the art of catching fresh food. And then there's the art of keeping it fresh. Ziploc storage bags.
After Thompson's, I actually was headhunted by BBDO in Canada, and that's where I worked on Apple, Black & Decker, John Deere, huge brands. Spent about 3.5, 4 years almost working on Apple in the days when it was becoming like this new fantastic product and this new brand that was taking on the DOS world.
At Apple, we believe the most powerful computer is one that people actually use. One that comes complete and ready to run in minutes, not hours. One that runs thousands of programs and has built-in networking. And one that everyone can afford. Introducing the Macintosh Classic. At $1,349, it makes everything else look like yesterday's news.
Nobody realises eventually how big something's going to become. We didn't think Apple was going to be massive, but it was just a cool account to work on. This Californian, client trying to do something cool with a computer, trying to change things, and we thought, yeah, okay, but you don't realise what it's going to change. Changed everybody's life, you know.
It was considered a bit of a toy, and the brief from the client was to make it look compatible. There's a misconception about Apple at the time. It was like, can it network? Can it number crunch? Can it do anything? It just looks pretty, but what can it do? So the main brief, and the same in California, in Chai Day, we're doing the same thing. We're sort of breaking down the misconceptions about Apple, because it was, as I say, considered a bit of a toy computer. So the job there was to try and convince people that this is going to be something revolutionary, something of the future, which of course today is biggest brand in the world.
What people take out of the ad are subliminal messages, if you like. Psychology, yes, that plays a big part. You can actually tap into emotions and the psyche through advertising. It can be done in many, many ways. It's very subtle, but it's evident in most advertising. Because at the end of the day, we are selling, and it's persuasion is the key, really.
Again, winning lots of awards, lucky to work with good people. Everyone was bouncing off each other. Then I decided, right, time to do another trip. But I was offered this job this time through a headhunter to go to Hong Kong, to Bozell, which is an American agency. Big agency in the States, in a fair few countries. But the big draw there was, Hong Kong. I love Asia. I love the culture. I love the martial arts there. I love lots of things about Asia. So that was a big plus to go there, and to work on Hong Kong Tourist Board. That was the big pull, to actually be the art director, associate creative director on that account. That was the big deal for me.
In the advertising industry, there's art directors, writers, designers, graphic designers. They tend to become in the form as art directors, not designers, art directors. So they're visual. They come up with thoughts, ideas for campaigns. They see things. They see a photography style. They see illustrative styles. So they're visually led. Copywriters, on the other hand, like most writers, have just got their head full of words banging around inside their brain. So they tend, and they still think visual, obviously, because they're writers. They see and they write about it. That's why it's best to team up writers and art directors to come up with campaigns. Two heads are better than one.
There's a film we put together called Behind the Mask, shot by a guy called Louis Ng, who's one of the best directors in Asia. And him and I got on famously well, and we shot all sorts of commercials, travelled all over Hong Kong. Hong Kong is full of many islands, so there's lots of different little fishing villages and towns and all sorts of beautiful things to shoot, apart from the obvious tourist things with the junk and the harbour. It's an amazing city, full of life, colour, taste, smells. Probably one of the most favourite cities in the world, Hong Kong.
When I'm thinking about work, I could walk out of the house. I've left wallets on top of cars, taxis. I've left things inside coffee houses. My mind's just thinking about the job. So yeah, I'm pretty absent-minded when it comes to that. I've done all sorts of daft things. Found myself in the wrong place on the wrong day, just because I was wandering, thinking.
Contract was for 3 years to work on HKTA predominantly. I liked Canada, and it would be good to go back. And I went to work for DMB&B, which was again a big North American agency in Toronto.
I think when things go wrong is when the funniest thing is when you've spent like a week of day and night with a whole creative department working on a campaign. And it's looking amazing. You get to the client, you got the projectors, everything, all the gear to present, and nothing works. That's the absolute. You just want to die and stab yourself, because nothing gets seen. And you're saying to the client, it really is good. You're really going to like this. And everyone's standing there with wires in there and nothing's working. That's probably the worst thing's ever happened to me.
In Canada. Came back from Hong Kong and got into the work there. They asked me if I wanted to go to Saudi Arabia to help set up an agency called Synergy. It would be a short stint, it would only be about 6 to 9 months to set this agency up. And the main client was Procter & Gamble. And while I was there, set the agency up, took about 9 months. Then I was headhunted to work in Dubai, again with Ogilvy. Same company I worked with in Sydney. And I was offered the job there as creative director, and I worked there for 3 years, won a gold lion there for road safety. It's only then, after about 3 years working in Dubai, that I started to meet the Saatchi folk in London, offered me a job to work in Cairo, Egypt, to head the office up there. They wanted a new creative director, new blood, to hire new talent and really get the profile of the agency up. They wanted to win awards.
Travelling and living in all sorts of countries, Asia, Middle East, Australasia, America, Canada, I've become more tolerant of lots of issues around the world, and I've seen a lot of good things, and I've seen a lot of bad things. I've been in a lot of bad situations and good situations. I think it's made me more tolerant of people in general, all of us, it's like a melting pot. I really do accept different cultures, and I sort of... I'm very tolerant, I think, because of this.
We did fix the work, and we won more awards at Saatchi that year than any other agency in the Caribbean. We won awards in America, Addies, all sorts of things. And that was the brief, really, to get these awards and beat all the other agencies.
People tell me this, that I work hard. I think it's, I don't know if it's this northern thing, grafting and all that. I've always worked hard, and I think what's kept me working hard is because I've gone to these different countries, I sort of like trying to prove something to myself that I'm on trial. So I think I put extra into it to prove to myself first, and then to them I can do this and I can do it great, I think that's the driving sort of thing, moving. If I'd have stayed here, I don't know,
Seems to be always 3 years, but it was 3 years again, and I reported to London. We filmed all over the place. We shot films in Cairo. I did all my post-production work in Greece, in Athens. We had many seminars, went to Italy, to Rome. I came back to the UK, started an agency called Heaven with a guy called David Shanks, who was my partner, a copywriter. And we freelanced basically as a consultancy for many years.
Yeah, I love working with young people and trying to get them to think different, think more creative. Lots of ways to do that. I just have so much passion inside me. I like to pass it on. So I take them out, talk to them. We look at the brief. We talk about stuff. We might go for a walk. We might go and have a beer somewhere, coffee. Just talk to them. Get them to relax first. You can't start doing ads or ideas or thinking when you're tense. You've got to be relaxed. You've got to start feeling relaxed. Then you can start talking. That's getting the best out of people then. Then you start to flow the ideas. People don't like putting something down, they're scared, So it's just a matter of getting them to loosen up. Even if you think it's stupid or daft, put it down. It may be brilliant, genius, later on. They obviously are creative. They're in the industry, in the arts. So it's just getting them to relax and then let their mind, free their mind. Mushin, as they say in Japan, empty mind.
And then Saatchi again kept in with me and asked me, would I like to go to Trinidad. Looking at the rain again here, I thought, no, it sounded fantastic. Again, the brief was pretty much the same. They wanted me to go over there and fix the creative department. And Saatchi said, right, you know, hire, you can do what you want, just go in there and fix the work. Originally it was a 2-year contract, but they were so happy, they asked me would I stay another year just to make sure everything was fine. So we did, and the family loved it. So that was that. Back to England.
Challenging account. Working on Always, I lasted 3 weeks, then they kicked me off it. We need a woman on this, you're no good. You can't start doing all this drama around, you know, a lady's product. So it was a huge, huge account. When I say challenging, yeah, it was challenging. So they took me off it very quickly and then put a girl, 2 girls on it, creative team on it. I'd say that was challenging, yeah.
Again, David Shanks, we'd worked together at our agency, and we were quite well known because of work we'd done in England before. So we had a fair bit of work on. He's quite a demanding writer, and we got on, well, we used to have our fights now and again, literally fist fights, but we've always been good mates. He's very passionate, like me, about his work. Not just to stay in England, but we got to pitch work in Dubai for people that we knew, and they knew us. A lot of post-production work again. Went to Dublin. I know a few animation houses over there. So it was good fun, lots of fun, and some good work.
I'm a bit hyperactive, me. I've been hyper since I was about 15. You know, I was on Valium at 16, I think, from the doctor. So what I did was I got into the martial arts because A, I love it, and I like the workout, and I like the buzz it gives me. And I think that's calmed me down throughout my career. Yeah, kept me sort of level. It's like the madness of advertising, and then the strictness. It's very strict in a dojo. You don't mess about, you know. So I like it's like being in the army. You're strict, then you go off with the fairies again. You're back in advertising. So it's a bit yin and yang, that for me, you know.
John, can you come out to Ogilvy in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia? We're pitching the Nike Foundation, which is a huge, huge charity. Nike, massive brand. It was talking to local young teenage girls about putting them into society and helping them with education, etc. We're pitching against 3 agencies in Africa and a couple in America. I was given about a month to try and work this out, and we did some stunning work, and we picked up part of the business. We didn't get the whole amount, and that was shared a little bit with an American agency. I know a bit about Ethiopia. My wife's Ethiopian, so the culture issues there I understood a little bit, so that's one of the reasons I suppose they got me out as well, you know, apart from being the creative director on the account.
My family, my lovely wife, makes me focused and stay grounded in my kids. Otherwise, I'd be off with the pixies, I think. Yeah, family keep me focused.
Here in the UK, working for Oliver Marketing, a huge agency in London, one of the biggest independents in the country. Got offices around the world as well. I work on their accounts. I work on Starbucks, I work on Britvic, I work on Thomas Cook mainly, AXA Insurance, a huge account they have. So they keep me quite busy at Oliver. I also do quite a bit for an agency called Prescription. Worked on Costa Bingo, done some TV idents for them, for Come Dine With Me, stuff like that, TV shows. Also, while I've been here, apart from the advertising, I've been working with ITV, trying to sell some shows to ITV in London, also CBBC here in Manchester.
Been there, done that, got the T-shirt, you know. I think it's been fantastic. I just don't want to stop. I'm looking forward to the next move. God knows where that will be, but it's been fantastic. It's been like a roller coaster ride.